Hi, this is my experience with masculinity, femininity, not feeling safe with men, or vulnerability, and healing, and having trust issues and healing that. It's easier for me to share in video than writing, so here it is. I have been on a journey in trusting and healing my trust issues, especially with men, being able to connect with men and feel safe. And it surprised me a lot what I found along the way. And so that's what I'd like to share with you in case that helps someone else here, because it seems like it's kind of a common issue and situation. So my experience, my journey was that I learned, experienced early on that men are not safe and can harm and treat other people in a non-honoring way. And so from that trauma, I shifted into like my masculine energy, because it feels like a more powerful energy. And so I lived in my masculine energy for my whole life until very recently. To be protective, to try and protect myself from the horrors and the harm that I saw is possible and out there. So what I experienced was, and I didn't realize this until later, that men are larger and stronger than women generally, and therefore could overpower them physically if they wanted to. And that's what I witnessed and experienced in a state when I was incapable of doing anything about it. And it really broke my heart that we have different abilities and capabilities, and that any man would ever use his abilities of being stronger and bigger to harm a woman. It just completely broke my heart, and I really hoped that instead men would use their strengths and their abilities to honor people, to honor all people and treat them in honoring ways, and to use their strengths to build people up and protect them. And I've realized what a beautiful, beautiful thing it is when a man uses his abilities and his strengths and his gifts and talents to protect people and to care for them. And that is one of my most favorite delicious things to experience and to see in all people, but men using their strengths and abilities and talents to bless and honor other people, and women using their specific strengths and talents to bless and honor other people with them. Anyway, but getting back to my story, so in response to the trauma, I stood in my masculinity for the rest of my life, kind of a tomboy. I also was very strong, got very physically strong, and I would, after experiencing a man, like males misusing their gifts and their abilities, I chose to surround myself with lambs, men that are lambs instead of lions, very weak, like in a weak state, to keep myself safe. And whenever a male around me was actually strong or powerful in any way, I would have to cut him down, either like tease him, criticize him verbally, poke fun at him, disrespect his who he was, to cut down his confidence, or I'd have to do it in my head and view him that way and like criticize him in my head, cut down his confidence and his strength so that I would feel safe. And this was all kind of subconscious. I didn't really notice it going on. I just thought it just felt very natural to treat men that way. But the harm of that was that so this was all just a response to trauma, and it was all a defense mechanism to stand in my masculinity. But I didn't realize, but then I didn't feel comfortable being vulnerable or safe with men or males, even my husband, because I hadn't experienced it. And you can imagine, with this pattern I had of cutting all men down, refusing to let them stand in their power, that I didn't allow my husband or any other man I knew or who was around me to stand in their power. So they kind of never were standing at full stature to protect me or to use their gifts and strengths and in confidence to help me. So I never experienced men helping me. And so it furthered my beliefs of I have to do it all on my own. No one's ever going to take care of me. I can't even confide in someone or ask them for help. I'm not worth taking care of or protecting. I'm all on my own. I have to be the man of the house. It just furthered those beliefs, which then created more of the situation, which cut my husband down even further. And I was very surprised that I think to see what I had ended up contributing to the problem. I like to view masculinity as having a light side and a dark side, and the light side is skills like analytical thinking, able to see the big picture, not like overwhelmed by emotions as much, strength, drive, passion, like those are really beautiful strengths. And then the dark side would be competitiveness, closed off, cold, like defensiveness, not communicating, not connecting emotionally, aggression, using power to hurt other people or harm other people. And then femininity, I'd say, has a light side and a dark side. The light side would be nurturing, compassion, emotions, love, ability to connect at an emotional level and with the heart easily, can see details easily. And then the shadow side would be can be overwhelmed by emotions, maybe can't see big picture or as easily, and then doormat, like overgiving, not seeing worth, not standing up for oneself. Anyway, so through my trauma, I had been standing in my masculinity, which was harmful to me and other people. And I'd specifically been standing in the shadow side of masculinity. I had become the exact thing that I was traumatized by. And I didn't even see it, and I kept being mad, like men and powerful people and males have problems and they can't be trusted, and I have trust issues because of that. And yet I had now become the same thing. And the men in my life couldn't, like, it just made, I kept cutting them down in my head or in interactions and keeping them small. I wasn't safe to talk to or connect with or be vulnerable with. So they weren't having any of the experiences that would support them in standing in their power. And so then I'm not receiving any of that and would blame them, but then my non-vulnerability and my standing in my masculinity was blocking them. So that's my big epiphany. So I went on the vulnerable journey of healing my trauma, of acknowledging and seeing the reasons why I wasn't willing to stand in my femininity, and letting go of control, accepting my femininity, choosing to stand in it more, choosing to connect to my heart, to connect with other people, dare to be vulnerable, dare to nurture and give love and receive nurturing. And it's healed me and my husband, and I'm actually able to treat men in an honoring way instead of the way I was treating them before. And so that's my message today, and I think that it's hard to see while we're in it and while we're in our trauma energy and our pain, but hurt people, and trauma begets more trauma. And so forgiving, healing our own stuff, noticing and increasing our awareness to see how we are creating what's in our life, and then for men embracing and accepting their masculinity and women embracing and accepting their femininity, for me, from my experience, is the way. And I also could see, this is a little side note, it was interesting, I had so much stood in my masculinity my whole life that I believed it. I was very physically active and athletic. I was very strong. In like elementary school, I was the fastest kid in my class, faster than the boys. In elementary school and part of middle school, I could beat most every boy in arm wrestling. So I really felt stronger than males. And then I was athletic and did kickboxing, all through adulthood. And I literally thought, when people would say, like, Emily, be careful walking across campus at night, or, careful in this situation, I would say, like, I know how to kickbox, and, like, I feel confident that I could protect myself. And I really believed it, like, genuinely. And it wasn't until I healed this trauma that I actually realized that most men are bigger than me and could overpower me. And I am at the mercy of their choosing to not treat me that way. Well, other stuff I can do, of course, but it was a shock to me that, like, I am smaller and weaker than a lot of men, because I literally had not ever, I had just refused to believe that because the world was too scary and too painful before to realize that that was true. What was the other thing I was going to share? Oh yeah, also as I growing up and withstanding my femininity or my masculinity, I saw femininity as weakness and repelling to me, and because I didn't experience, I wasn't an expert in it, I didn't experience or understand it. So when I would look at a wife making food for her family or treating her kids like gently and nurturing, it was just so not resonant with me that I saw it as like weak or just not, it didn't feel good to me. So I really would say, like, I'm not going to cook food for anybody. I'm not going to clean or take care of everyone's needs. And I really thought that that was the best way to be. I thought, like, I'm a smart, good person, and that's why I feel the way I do. And it wasn't, oh my gosh, this is a big one. It wasn't until I'd started healing and standing in my femininity that I was able to experience for the first time how good it feels to use my strengths to serve another person, and how good that feels for them to receive that from me, and then how good it feels for my husband to use his strengths and abilities to serve me. And it is so beautiful. And I don't feel like a slave, or I don't feel like a lesser being nurturing my husband. And it's one of the most beautiful things ever, and I had no idea it even existed because I couldn't comprehend it before when I was standing in my masculinity. So my entire view of men and women has changed. I used to be so sure men are from Mars and they're just stupid and, not stupid, but like, like, they're just, it's not good or fun or enjoyable that they are the way they are. And I'm finally, like, getting to see differently and experience differently that it's beautiful, the way that men are and the way that women are. And I love it. And I've actually started to let my husband protect me and, do the things for me that, women can double task pretty well, can do a lot of what a man can do and a woman, but not all of it well, because it's split 50-50, So to just let him do the things that he's good at, and I'll do the things that I'm good at, and let him do things for me, like, my soul feels so, like, accepted and loved, and enough that another person would treat me that way and would use their abilities to help and care for me.